Okay everyone, so in this video, I just want to go and start with an empty project, and I just want to create a folder structure for as a template. The project that I'm working on, I want to start from scratch, and I'm going to be creating some folders here just to organize my thoughts and for me to be able to further at least organize the assets that I will be using for the project. So for animations, I will be creating some more folders here like enemies. This is how I set up the folder structure for the game. I'll have the level design. Of course, you can, depending on how you would want to work with your project, you might want to adjust some of this. So we have cutscene, enemies, level design, player, and I think level design is more on the environment, right? Let's also have a folder for the artwork. Let me just create a folder for the artwork. And inside of the artwork, we'll have some sprites there. So I'd like to have some animation art, especially for cutscenes. Cutscenes, animation art. Or I think I'm just going to call it animation art. Or cutscenes. I think that's better. Animation art. Then let's have some enemies for the animation of the enemies. Maybe name that enemies. Of course, if I had manananggal, let's say I would have a enemy 1, enemy 2, enemy 3. So I'll create some subfolders there. I'll just go create enemy 1 and enemy 2. So at least when I try to commit this, I'll have some templates. Let's also have some folders for level design and for the artwork. For the level design, I might need to have some tile maps and tile sets, right? So I'm going to go back up here. I want to have some sprites for my player, and I also want to have some reference and mood folder. So perhaps if I have some reference for artwork that I like, I'll be placing it there just to take note. And for the audio, let's go back to the root folder. Let's create a folder for audio music. Let's have a folder for music tracks. And let's also have a sound effects. Sound effects tracks. And I think we will also need to, I think that's for the sound effects. I'd like to take that down with enemies. Let's look into level music. Let's have a folder for player sound effects or SFX. I think it's better, level music. I think level, not music, but sound effects. Okay. Because in the music tracks, we would probably have level music. Then in here, music tracks. So level music will have track 1, track 2, right? Then in the sound effects level, enemy sound effects. Enemies sound effects. Then let's go back to, I want to add a marketing folder, or at least I don't have that much experience with marketing, so I want to put that as one of the folders that I would want to compile materials that I'll be getting, or at least things that I'll be learning from. We can also have materials, because at some point you might encounter using materials in Unity. And we can also have a folder for prefabs, and the prefabs will have a folder for enemy prefabs. We can have a folder for level prefabs. So perhaps you may have some camera, or let's say camera prefab, right? I think we can have a camera prefab here, camera prefabs. I'm not sure if this is going to be much better if we camera. Our level prefabs will be, perhaps we just keep it there directly. All of the level prefabs that we'll need to use in our game. Of course, we can still try to update this. The player prefab. We will be definitely having some special effects that we'll be using. So we have in our root directory prefab scenes, let's have a scripts folder. And inside of the scripts folder, in the scenes folder first, let's have to go to the scenes folder. Let's have some folders for test scenes. Let's have a folder for cut scenes. Then let's have a levels area scene, or level area. And let's have a tutorials. Perhaps we might want to create a scene that will be containing tutorials. And I think this is one of the things that I want to incorporate based on a playtest feedback from one of my teammates. Adding some sort of a tutorial scene that will be showcasing how the player mechanics will work. So I wanted to add a folder for that. Then on the scripts folder, let's have some enemy related scripts. Enemy scripts. Let's have some level design scripts. We might want to have a script for design pattern. Let's have a player scripts. And I think in the scripts folder, we might also want to have, in the level design, we might want to have some, in the scripts, we might need to have some weapons. We might need to, do we want to organize this? So we can have a general weapons, let's say bullets, right? We can set here player weapons. We can have enemy weapons, and we can have traps, because that might be some scripts for traps that we want to work on. On the level design, we might want to include inside of that some design patterns. And then camera scripts. Most of the time, we will have some sort of a camera script from our UI. But still, this might depend on what you want to accomplish. So this can always be replaced and updated. So let's go back to our root asset folder. So we have scenes, we have scripts. Want to have a folder for my storyline and or writing. Might want to have a folder for my timeline that will be inside of my animations, because most probably that will be related to animations. And we might want to have some sort of a game design pattern folder. I think that's just an optional feature. You might want to put some resources here, like a markdown or a readme or a txt file. And we might want to have some build folder. And we can have their test builds. And we can have semantic versioning. Just so that in the build folder, that's where you'll be putting whatever build resources that you have created, like semantic versioning, major, minor patches that you've done with your project, then test builds. And I think that's it for this video. I hope that this gave you a general idea on what will be the different folder structure that you might want to incorporate into your project. Thank you, everyone.